this woman has lost her rhythm, and so she's saying, watch my hand, and she's breathing in, breathe out. And she says she even wears a ring so that like her clients can watch the ring go up and down. But that's something that if you see like, you know, your partner's tensing up and it's like, and your breath's not in a pattern, it's time to change. And so that's when you're like, hey, look, open your eyes, look at me, breathe with me, watch my hand up and down, focus on what you're doing. So that's what this, you know, this is when things are getting kind of tough in this 8 centimeters. So, you know, you see a lot of laying down. This woman is like, no clothes, get them off me. They're hot, they're cold. So you're just, you know, whatever's going on, you're adapting to that. And then you get this second wind, and sometimes it lasts for, you know, 5 minutes, and it can last a half an hour where it's just this resting period. And then all of a sudden you're like, I want to poop. And that's when we know, like, oh, you need to push. So, and it's not like I want to poop during my I mean, it's like all the time. You just feel this pressure. And that's when, you know, doctors know and we know, like, okay, it's time to start pushing. And so then you have all these pushing positions. You know, this is a squat bar, so this woman's squatting on the squat bar. You have the, you know, in the bed pulling the legs up. And then baby's out, and this baby gets to come skin to skin. You can see this woman's, you know, she doesn't have any clothes on, which is great. And then, you know, they look like this happy little family here. So that's awesome. And then this is if you have an epidural. So this is this other little detour. You know, I like how the husband's like giving her a kiss, and you know, everything's gonna be
Which,
okay.
as we talked about, does not always mean things are easier when you get that epidural, right? There is that much more that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
You're getting off your bike and pushing it up the hill rather than riding it up the hill. It's still hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
let's talk a little bit about a doula, and then we're going to do breath work. I'm trying to get you guys out of here still on time. So we have talked a lot about a doula, and I've never even told you guys what it is or given you a definition. Is anyone still sort of unclear about what a doula is or what a doula does? My definition, if I had a business, I would call it the birth Sherpas, because that is what a doula is, okay? You are there to help the couple navigate uncharted territory and to carry their load, okay? So I know what the inside of the hospital looks like. So does Anna, so does Linda Sheehan, so does Allie, so there's another lady I haven't met named Lauren. We know what the inside of the hospital looks like. We know where to get the ice, we know where to get more blankets, we know where to get warm blankets. That's the money. We know where to get more pillows. And we also have seen this before, who has seen a birth before in here? Has seen one, yes. Cool. And so you guys have seen it, you know the deal a bit, and it helps to know the deal. But the people who are primarily helping you have not probably seen a birth except for your mom. You said she did. And so it just helps to have someone there who knows what they're doing. Or like Gina said, she picked just this person who she wanted holding her other leg. She was very picky. And you have to think about who you want to bring them energy. And that might not be anybody, okay? Sarah and Chris didn't want anybody there. That was very clear. And they did great. And so you have to think about that. But there are some statistical reasons why doulas can help labor go slower. And anyone can go quicker and things go smoother. But it's not going to work if you're not comfortable with the person in there. So whoever is in there with you, if you pick somebody, they're your doula. It doesn't mean that they have to have gone through all the training and all that stuff. They're there to help you. And they're your birth Sherpa, okay? So, any other questions about doulas? I think we have some pretty good ones in Steamboat. Linda being the one that comes to mind. She's done it for 185 years.
she's the fairy god doula.
She's the fairy god doula. Yeah, she's fantastic. Okay. All right, so moving on to breathing. get to either breathe through a contraction or push through contractions. And we don't want to push through contractions until it's time to push through contractions. And so until then, we have to breathe through them, which actually becomes very, very tedious at about 9 centimeters. And that's why you want to bring in that toning. But you, the reason why you have to breathe through your contractions, first of all, you have to breathe and you have to oxygenate your muscles, and your uterus being a very big muscle, it has to get oxygen. And the baby, thank you, that little important part. But you also, it focuses you. So your breath is always what you come back to, which is why meditation or hypnosis or whatever you want to call it during certain harder contractions is really important. So you breathe through those contractions until you feel the urge to push through the contractions. And when you get to push through the contractions, who said it? I think it was Gina maybe, or hallelujah. You know, it was so exciting to get to push through the contractions because you don't have to, you know something's actually happening. So to push through the contractions, you will be directed to take a deep breath in and typically hold it for the count of 10. So it would be like 1, 2, and you're not doing this typically, okay? You can, but again, that's not always the most effective way to get the baby out. It is more like a for 10 seconds, and then release, and then and try to get 2 to 3 per contraction. The nurses will tell you all of this because yes, as much as they're gone, they will be there for this part. Even if the baby's not right there, they'll say, hey, let's try a few practice contractions, or practice pushes. And you will get to try that, and then they'll say, what I want you to do is actually hold your breath instead of letting it out. So they will help you. This is why you don't necessarily need to remember this stuff right now, okay? I'm just telling you. Breath is very important though, because it is that great distractor and that great focuser when we're in those really hard contractions. It's again something else to do while we are, what else do we do when we're breathing? You find that focus point somewhere in the room that you can look at. And your head will be down here in between contractions, and you feel contraction, and you lift up, and you look at that tape on the wall. And there used to be the worst posters at the hospital ever. It was like the kitty saying, like, hang on. I mean, it was terrible. And then they remodeled the hospital, thank goodness, and it's so much better. They have really nice things on the wall, so you can look at something. Or you can look at your husband's face as long as it stays neutral and it's not going to send you into the spiral of fear, right? And or you're looking up in between contractions, and then you look down for your contractions, and some women close their eyes the entire time. Some women just go that deep, deep place, and some people like to keep their eyes open, and you'll figure out that dance. It's not anything that you can prearrange. You want to either do some chest breathing or belly breathing. Find what's comfortable for you. Belly breathing is going to bring more oxygen to your baby and to your body, so that's that big inhale. And where your belly actually stands, the chest breath is, that's not quite as effective, but I'm not going to criticize you if you're doing that. What do you do during a contraction if you want to push? How do you breathe? You pretend you have a big birthday cake in front of you, and you go like you're blowing out all the candles. Now when I'm doing this, I'm very loose down here. I'm not pushing anything out. If I'm going like this, I'm pushing something out down there. So the reasons why you would not want to push if you feel like pushing are, did anyone read ahead? One is if doctor's not there yet, okay? Or if doctor's across the room delivering the baby across the room and you're ready, but doctor's not in the room yet. Swear to God, true story, poor thing, had to sit there for a long time. Like, shower's coming, he's coming. And the other reason would be because you're not fully dilated. You may feel like there's to push, but it's really going to damage your cervix if you push and you're not, and you're 8 or 9 centimeters dilated. So you don't want to do that. So again, you just, because I'm not bearing down when I do that, okay? So then you could, how to breathe during the pushing stage, we kind of talked about that big inhale. Now you can try to just let your body do it, little grunts, but what's really going to be effective, I see it more effective is that, and you hold your breath rather than push it out like that. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about, any questions about pushing? Breathing.
So don't push if the doctor's not there.
If you're not
fully dilated.
push if the doctor's not there. You push. If you can do those practice pushes, let's see how things going. You hear everyone say, I push for 2.5 hours. You push. You don't have to wait for shower to start those things. But at a certain point, the nurse will say, okay, Anna, hold on. I need you to just do some light breathing, you know, just like that. That means baby is counting, and who's your doctor?
Schaller or Peterson.
Schaller is coming in, and he's, you know, talking a million miles an hour like he does, and he's going on his bells, and he's like, he's not quite there yet. So you're just doing,
Okay.
because baby is crowning, and nurses don't want to deliver babies. Like, much as like, sometimes think it'd be fine, they just don't. So they'll tell you, I just need you to breathe like that. But all that until you're at that point,
Okay.
he doesn't need to be there. And yes, they will check you. You'll say, I feel the urge to push, I feel the urge to push. Okay, let's check you. Oh, you're only 8 centimeters dilated. We have a little bit longer. Baby's head and that pressure will get you dilated the rest of the way fairly quickly, but you don't want to start pushing until you're 10 centimeters. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good question.
Why does holding your breath, why is that more efficient?
For the pushing,
Yes.
you know, I think you're able to that's a good question, and I'm just coming off the top of my head. I think you're just able to really charge everything down there.
Okay.
So I challenge the next time you have a reason to push like that, see how effective one push. We're used to pushing like a bowel movement out with like a grunt, right? And letting our breath go. But I think if you're holding everything in and then you're really concentrating on that downward push,